Welcome to the Syneos Health Podcast, Conversations on Commercialization. I'm Tyler Cowan, Vice President Commercial at Syneos Health. In this series, my co-hosts and I are having discussions on how biopharma leaders are rewriting the commercial playbook and what it takes to succeed as commercialization takes on a more strategic role earlier in product lifecycle. We're sharing cross-functional perspectives on the decisions shaping commercialization today, from value and access to evidence, stakeholder strategy, and engagement planning. Enjoy this episode. We're glad you're here.
I'm Chris Van Denberg with Syneos Health, your host for this episode of the Syneos Health Podcast, Conversations on Commercialization. We're recording from the floor of Assembly 2026 Summit, where the industry gathers to discuss the future of specialty pharmacy, prescription access, and patient care. Today, I'm joined by George Jones, Chief Commercial Officer at Biopharma. George and I have known each other for many years, first as my boss, then as a friend, and I value both. Welcome to the show, George.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. I appreciate it.
First, why don't you just tell me a little bit about Biopharma so we have an idea of what you do and what they're all about.
Biopharma is a dermatology specialty pharmaceutical company focused on the area of photodynamic therapy. Photodynamic therapy is a way to treat skin diseases. We have a product for the treatment of actinic keratosis on the head, face, and scalp. We are also pursuing further indications in superficial basal cell carcinoma, as well as other skin conditions.
You're involved with AI more than I have experienced other folks at your level. Not that everybody's not thinking about it and talking about it, but you've actually sort of dug into not just the application and use of it, but the right use of it. And you've seen some people trying some things, which is important and necessary to understand a new technology of any kind, especially of AI. And you're not the first small pharma company I've spoken to. In fact, I've spoken to some that said they're never working with an agency that doesn't use AI because they need things faster, cheaper, and still of high quality. Before we get into application on your team, what are just some areas that you think small pharma should really be looking at AI to help you?
Going back to Biopharma, one of our primary stated goals is to get to profitability this year. So you get to profitability for two ways, one by growing revenue scale, and the other is obviously managing expenses. So as a small company, focus on both of those. Ways to create leverage are critically important. When we looked at technology and we thought about ways to create leverage, the emergence of AI as a tool is perfect for us and right up our alley. The ways to take the work, instead of hiring that incremental employee or instead of frankly hiring the incremental ad agency, we're able to give tasks to a smart AI agent that can do some of these things for us. I worked in software before this, and they talk about the 10x developer, the developer that performs 10 times better than your average developer. We are able to leverage this technology and create many 10x employees and create so much more scale and value out of our existing employee base without going to agencies and without having to hire more and add more costs to the business.
And how's the quality?
The quality, as they say, is what you put into it. But I'll tell you, we brought in Claude AI into our infrastructure at our company. So we bought our own instance, put it in our own moat so it's safe for us to use and put all of our data and information in without it leaking into the other models to train their models. Claude has been incredible. It's been eye-opening for me as a tool to make me so much smarter. So the quality's been amazing, but it's a product of the questions that you ask it. And I'm not sure if I should call it an it, a him, a her, a they, or what. But for this, we'll call it it. For instance, the conference, this is the best analogy for us here. I wanted to do an analysis of a GPO contract that we had entered into not that long ago. And the first question that I asked it and the data I put in, it spit out an answer that said, this is wildly successful. This is the most successful thing you could do. Do more of it. Give me more. And I looked at it and I put my hat of somebody who kind of knows the business on, and I knew it wasn't that perfect of an outcome for Biopharma. So I looked at the data, thought to myself, did I ask the right question to Claude? And re-asked the question in a better, different way, and I got a markedly different answer out. So same data, same person, two completely different answers that I was able to get out of this system. So without that, as we call it, or as a lot of people call it, human in the loop, I've heard it here at the conference many times. Without that human in the loop that brought a level of expertise, we could have gone down a markedly different path or the wrong path with this information.
And how did you know the second run was right or right enough?
Fair. That's a great question, Chris. And I knew the second run was correct or more directionally correct just by being able to put my human mind in the loop and validate it against some of the data that I had put into it. I felt more comfortable, but I will say, I don't know if it was 100% correct. I know that the insight and the direction that it gave me is correct and is going down the right path for me to dig a little deeper. I did another analysis using Claude the other day in preparation for a board meeting I have coming up, and it gave me, I believe, a correct answer. But you talk about how companies are going to use this, and I'll say how my company and my group is going to use it, is analytics that come out of it can't go further without a second set of eyes on it. For instance, I have a board meeting coming up next week, and we're going to do a lot of analysis in Claude, or we have been doing a lot of analysis for Claude. If I do something, I need our head of data analytics to validate it for me before it goes to the next level. What I want is a lot of people on the team asking Claude a lot of questions, doing a lot of analysis, getting smarter. What I don't want is somebody to grab some information and run right off and go make decisions based on it. I want them to be thoughtful and maybe have somebody validate it before we make a big decision with it.
And have you seen that happen or almost happen?
That's going to happen. We just released this tool in our company. We had a small group of executives using the tool for about 3 months to validate it, to make sure it's something we wanted to release into the wild. And we just released it. We rolled out our AI policy to the full organization 2 weeks ago. And my next step is for my team. I help run commercial at Biopharma. We're going to have a brainstorming session and a working session with how we're going to use Claude within our group. And we're going to outline some of the rules of the road on how we're going to use Claude or use AI. I'm in the process of doing all that. This is all relatively new for us.
Who are those decision makers? The original ones in terms of to implement a Claude, and then how to make best use of it.
So our CFO was a massive driver of using this. Our CFO has a broader operational role. IT rolls up into him. So he was working on this project with our IT group. We had a previous AI tool that we released. I think it was a Microsoft-based. It wasn't Copilot, but it was a Microsoft-based model that we had rolled out to the company probably 2 years ago. And it just wasn't very good. It was helpful, would answer questions. You could ask it a business question, but you really wasn't that good at analyzing data. So he tested out different models, came up with Claude, and has been using it. And I'm speaking of the analytical piece of it, but I can tell you he's also using Claude Code to, as they say, vibe code different agents. We've created a accounts payable workflow. Our CFO, who's not an IT guy, created an agent into his group, his accounts payable group, to automate a lot of the workflow from accounts payable. I mean, it's amazing. This guy spent a fair amount of his time getting up to speed, but that was the aha moment for him when he was able to automate this. Our product is a buy and bill product. We take orders from HCP offices. We'll create an agent to help with our automation of our order processing. So we'll be able to take our customer service group, who are awesome, and have them do more valuable tasks and take some of the early stage of processing the order tasks off their plate. And maybe they can spend more of their time speeding up our credit checks process or things like that add more value to the process. So we are going to use this tool to massively streamline the entry point, still keeping the same amount of people. This isn't replacing the team. This is helping the team be more effective and be more efficient.
Ultimately, how does that benefit a patient or a population of patients?
No, it's a great question. That's why we're here. From us, it allows us to dedicate more resources to getting to more patients. I could say on the customer service front, just that particular use case we were just talking about, listen, our orders go into an email box. Our people miss an email here and then. If an HCP office was using just-in-time inventory, and God forbid we miss an order, and that patient was scheduled for the next day, and that patient is not going to get their treatment for actinic keratosis, a precancerous skin disease. So by creating this tool, you will not miss orders. It's pretty neat in that way. So we will benefit patients by making sure they have the medicine in the right place at the right time. We're going to use AI on reimbursement to help make sure people get the right coverage that they need. So we're scratching the surface of how this is in outpatients, I believe.
Do you then feel, I've been hearing the terminology of AI assisted. It sounds like what you're talking about is exactly that.
These are AI agents, assistants, however you want to say it. Yep.
To assist humans.
Yep. I have a bit of AI skepticism in me as well, so I'm a bit of a Luddite on this, and that's why the human in the loop piece is what got me there, just as a policy, because corporately as a policy, what human in the loop means to us is the minute you share information that you get out of this, it's yours. It's not the AI. So if you share misinformation or you share mistakes up the ladder or we make decisions based on it, it's not the AI's fault. It's your accountability. So we really want to make sure what the AI is putting out and the AI is helping us with or assisting us with is accurate and is actionable and is correct.
I think that's a really interesting dynamic, because if I got spreadsheet, analytics, slide deck, whatever, from a colleague, I know the colleague, I've worked with him or her before, I kind of know where they're great at and maybe where they're not so great at, and so I'm going to review that information pretty critically with all sorts of yellow boxes and comments and everything. But I wonder if it's coming from, quote, AI, that I assume maybe it's smarter than me anyway. I don't know its personality. I don't know where its strengths and weaknesses are like a human, and therefore I might not dig into it and be critical. But to your point, I assume that working group that you mentioned before, that's going to be sort of rule number one.
That is rule number one. It's funny, the way that our CFO has put it out there and explained it and evangelized it is he used to work at McKinsey. So he graduated from B school, he went to go work for McKinsey, and he would ask a junior analyst, these fresh out of Princeton, Harvard, really, really smart kids, really smart, really sharp, but didn't know anything. And he would ask them to go put together a slide deck or do an analysis for him, and it would take 2 or 3 days, he'd get it back, and then he'd have to put his expertise on top of that to make it better and to refine it. AI is those junior analysts that were fresh out of Harvard or Princeton, really smart, but kind of not so smart at the same time.
What would happen to Biopharma if you guys didn't go down this path?
We'd be fine. I think we would probably have to hire more people. I would say that we are going to grow faster because of this. This increases our odds of achieving our goal this year of break even. And listen, break even is a milestone. It's not the destination. The destination is a highly profitable company bringing this really innovative treatment to more patients. Actinic keratosis impacts millions of people in the country. PDT therapy is one of the best therapies for actinic keratosis. It is a tiny piece of the actinic keratosis market, tiny, tiny, tiny. And if we could just get this product to more patients with actinic keratosis or with sun-damaged skin, we can make a huge impact on patients. So this is going to allow us to accelerate that growth and accelerate access to more patients of this great therapy that many people don't even know.
If you were to think of somebody, not the C-suite folks that are championing this, but somebody in your organization that really is embracing AI technology, that you trust to develop it for other people in your group, a year from now, what's the compliment that you hope to give that person?
Oh, that's a great question. The VP of Sales, Senior VP of Sales and Strategic Accounts at Biopharma has embraced this, and she is using it to get smarter and to do analytics and make decisions faster. So if I was going to compliment her as somebody who's been a real advocate for it, I would say that you've made our business smarter and you've made us be able to make decisions faster to be able to optimize our business and have more people have access to photodynamic therapy. Just so, for instance, of something that we're working on right now is we had a territory turnover and we're resource constrained. I think I've established that. We had a territory turnover. It's a good territory. It's not a great territory for us. And so the question is, should we deploy that resource back in the same place, kind of run the play, or should we look to deploy that resource someplace else in a market that's got a different demographic trend or something like that? We're going to be able to make that decision in days, whereas before you would call ZS and you would have this consultant and that consultant, but in the mapping software, we're going to have that decision made by the end of the week, and I'm going to feel really comfortable with that decision. It's going to be made by her, me, our head of sales ops. We're going to check our work, but we're going to be able to consistently improve our business. The easy thing is just, hey, let's just hire and replace that person who turned. But we're able to take a pause. Is this the best place to deploy that resource? Can we deploy it differently and make that decision incredibly quickly? And that's a lot of power ourselves with no outside consultants or help or anything like that.
I find a lot of life comes down to standards and style. And AI, you could argue, is a style and how you get something done. But to your point, at the end of the day, those standards still have to be high. So you're going to check your work like you just said.
The one thing that makes me really nervous about AI is just something in my own life and some other things that I've done. I had a small consulting practice before I worked at Biopharma. Felt like I was able to convince it of stuff, those hallucinations everyone would talk about, just by asking it that extra question. Well, what if you looked at it like this? Well, what if you looked at it like that? And I was able to lead it down a path that you wanted. And at the end, it gives you the answer that you want. There's been papers written on this and articles. That is not great. That's just confirmation bias on some level and forcing that. So I worry about that a lot. But I think, again, by having the human in the loop and having multiple people be looking at it before big decisions are made will be really helpful for us and de-risk it for us and others.
Well, George, I want to thank you for this time. It was insightful for me. It'll be insightful for the folks who listen to this, and I hope you had fun too.
Great. Thank you, Chris. This is a great opportunity. I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of the Syneos Health Podcast, Conversations on Commercialization. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore, send us a message at podcast@syneoshealth.com. For more actionable, future-focused life science insights, visit the Insights Hub at syneoshealth.com.